It was while studying the Mirrors and Windows module, I realised that my first forays into photography were about creating a window through which the viewer could look at the past much as I had done through the images in our family albums. On further reflection, it became clear that this early work was also a mirror of my emotions, thoughts and feelings at the time. I chose the window, what to show and what to omit from that window, but the work was also heavily biased by the fact I was holding a mirror up to my own emotions, and this influenced the work in the way I made it. All of this was unknown to me at the time, and indeed throughout my life, up until the point I began my MA journey. The images of my mother and brother were, on reflection, shot with a particular method that showed meaning I did not originally intend, or even was aware of at the time. I framed the image of my brother leaving with a lot of space around him, which I now realise was to convey distance and to give him space to walk away into. This is directly opposed to the shots of my mum and brother together, which convey a closeness heightened by the tight crop. During the late 80s, I collaborated with my friend Lloyd Garland, who had graciously taught me how to develop and print black and white, on an adventure to shoot live bands. I was inspired by the work of Tony Mottram and Ross Halfin, whose images appeared in popular publications I purchased, such as Sounds magazine and Kerrang, a rock metal magazine. I loved their work and, armed with a camera and flash but no clue as to how to shoot live bands, Lloyd and I ventured into the centre of Bristol to search for a venue. My initial work with flash ensured I got the shots. They did not have the same look and feel as Halfin and Mottram's work. After studying their work in much greater detail, I eventually realised they were not using flash, which, in my opinion, was killing the live atmosphere of my work and often harshly overlighting the main subjects. I confess I had no idea about correct techniques at this stage and only set to studying photography in detail at a later date. My work at this time became all about other people's requirements and not my own. I needed to work to a brief to satisfy editors and the management of the band, etc. It was at this point I began to lose control over my work, as it became more about satisfying others, and my creative control, I feel, was taken away from me. My work was being featured in magazines and newspapers, as well as in a book about the Granary, a famous nightclub in Bristol, and this led to me getting work for other magazines and weddings and portrait commissions. It was at this point in my career that I began to teach photography, primarily with the Jessop's Academy, where I was able to write and deliver training programs to the public, as well as to businesses, schools and colleges. My love of teaching photography had begun, and also my love of learning about photography. I had read some books and purchased magazines before, but had never really researched other photographers with a view to learning from them, and thus improving my own work. It was the desire to help others to learn that motivated me to seek out knowledge from photographers past and present, such as Henry Cartier-Bresson, David Bailey, Soul Lighter and others. The internet, of course, made this so much easier. When I started photography, I only had the odd library book and a magazine to look at. I continued to shoot live bands, now with digital cameras. My practice, after studying photography in depth, was much more solid. The harsh flash was gone, which resulted in my work having a much more emotional feel, which I much prefer to the old style. Part of the improvement process was, I am sure, down to the fact that at this time I began to really work with light and study lighting used on film sets and in theatres, and access and study classic lighting styles in movies. I also started to study paintings in art galleries and online to see how the artists use light in their work. My work as a wedding photographer was all about capturing the decisive moment. I was a reportage photographer intent on capturing images from the couple's big day. I did not, however, consider the most important factor, capturing the story and the emotion of the day. If, and I doubt I will, I shoot another wedding, the focus will be on capturing the story and the emotion. I sometimes did this by happy accident, but after studying this MA, I want to change my practice completely to a story-based practice. Portrait photography has always been a subject close to my heart. My early portrait work mainly featured my long-suffering children and my sister-in-law, who was always very helpful and allowed me to experiment with lighting, using table lamps, etc., to gain an understanding of lighting as a subject. I was lucky enough in later life to attend a masterclass in studio lighting by Damien McGillicuddy, who was known in the photography world as the lighting wizard. My studio work vastly improved and I gained more clients, but I was still not happy. Looking back now using my MA goggles, it is clear to me that my portrait and wedding work lacked a story and emotion. Although technically good, the images I was producing were devoid of life and any real meaning, other than capturing a likeness of the sitter that was pleasing to the eye. Where is the story, the emotion, and where am I in the image? My work pre-MA is stagnant and not unlike countless other photographers' work. Where is my voice, my identity, my uniqueness? I hope to rediscover all of these things as my journey continues. Immediately before starting the MA, I was looking for inspiration for new projects to try. I came across the work of a French photographer, Serge Romali, who is a renowned photographer with his work being sold in over 85 galleries around the world. He has published 4 coffee table books of the cities of Paris, New York, Venice, and his latest of Los Angeles. I do not manipulate my images beyond basic adjustments, so I was keen to try a new technique that involved more complex manipulation. I have included the result, although not completed, because although it was enjoyable to try, I did not feel that this was a style that suited me, so it remained unfinished. I did, however, learn a lot about the lighting style Romali uses, and this is something I will use in the future. I realised soon after starting the MA that my knowledge of photographers outside of my special interest was lacking. This is in part down to my neurodiversity. Anything outside of my special interest is very difficult for me to focus on and learn about. I began looking for photographers' work that inspired me, and I quickly found the fantastic work of Sol Leiter. I love his quote. I go out to take a walk. I see something. I take a picture. I take photographs. I have avoided profound explanations of what I do. This describes the 14-year-old me to perfection. I immediately went out to shoot some images with the Leiter feel, but not, of course, to copy his work exactly. These are my poor attempts. One of my research projects is entitled Light and Its Absence. I'm incredibly interested in light and how it can be captured in an image. These 3 images are my first attempts to capture light and its absence for one of my MA research projects. The word photography is from the ancient Greek photos, meaning light, and graphy, meaning drawing. A recent inspiration for me is the work of Andrew Banner, a photographer, YouTuber and vlogger. His abstract work in particular I find fascinating. Andrew suffers from high levels of stress and anxiety and imposter syndrome, as do I, and I think that his struggle with mental health, as well as his brilliant images, were what attracted me to his work and his YouTube channel in the first place. I hope to collaborate with Andrew in the future for my research project, as I feel his unique insight would be invaluable. This whole process of working as a professional photographer resulted in me losing my unique perspective. I no longer had a voice of my own, but was rather a gestalt entity, made up of many photographic influences, but undiscernible as an individual. Finding my voice is the reason I'm here on this journey, and this was reiterated during my one-to-one session with Tim, who advised me to find my voice, as my work could possibly be from 5 different photographers. My research project will, I believe, help me to achieve this. I want to look at photography from an abstract viewpoint through the eyes of an autistic, myself, photographer. I intend to create work that shows the neurotypical image alongside the neurodiverse image. I also wish to continue to explore light and the absence of light, as light is the fundamental element of all photography. We are only able to see around 0.005% of light, making us virtually blind to the universe, and this is something that fascinates me and I want to explore more. The MA both excites and terrifies me. I'm in love with photography and learning, but scared I will not be good enough. My greatest wish is to achieve my MA and to pass on the knowledge, skills and experience gained to my GCSE students. I do not yet know what my FMP will be about, but I'm excited by the journey of discovery I find myself embarking with Falmouth University.